Hello and welcome to the 2009 Magic the Gathering World Championships. I'm Randy Buehler. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and we're ready for some semifinal action. Bram Snepvangers from the Netherlands has 300 career pro points. He's got 4 top 8s on his resume, but he's never been a Pro Tour champ, much less a world champion. Trying to pull that off here. He's got the Boros Bushwhacker deck, the most aggressive deck pretty much in the format. Red, white, aggressive creatures, removal. But Ranger of Eos gives it some card advantage, gives it some reach, gives him the ability to set up really powerful mid-game turns with multiple Bushwhackers and lots of Step Lynxes. He led with a Teetering Peaks, not the most explosive start he's capable of having, but I think it's setting up a turn 2 Geopede. On the other side of the table, Andre Coimbra from Portugal. He has been in a World's top 8 before. He's got a couple of Grand Prix top 8s, good player, has been here, has done that, and he's playing Naya Lightsaber. So another take on how to build an aggressive deck in this format. It's red, green, white. It's a specific design by Mike Flores, who was trying to figure out how do I beat Jund. Jund has really been the defining deck in this standard format, and good creatures, really big creatures. Again, Ranger of Eos to set up some mid-game powerful turns, refill my hand after a Blightning. Now, he leads with Wild Nacatl, and looks like he gets in for 2 on the first turn. How do you think this matchup plays out?
Well, when I was talking to Bram at lunch, Bram felt that Andre's deck was slow. You know, I'm doing air quotes around that.
Okay.
Which just gives you an idea of how powerful and how fast Bram's deck is. He said that the key to the matchup for him was going to be how many lightning bolts.
Oh, Bram plays an Arid Mesa, so that fetch land triggers the play to Geopede. It's a 3/3, or it would be a 3/3, except Lightning Bolt is going to remove it. It's nice. That fetch land could have potentially created a 5-power Geopede, but no. Andre's got the Lightning Bolt he needs.
He said that was going to be the key. He was not very worried about Path to Exiles, because he felt the Path to Exiles would set up an earlier Ranger of Eos for him, which would then let him have his very explosive turns.
Okay.
So he's pretty comfortable with a Path.
Well, it's an interesting decision here. He's got 2 Step Lynxes in his hand. If he wants to play them both, he'll have to crack his fetch land, but with no land left, he can play 1 Step Lynx and crack the fetch land next turn, or 2 Step Lynxes now. I have no idea what the right play is there. Little subtle decision that...
He can also play a Step Lynx if Andre doesn't draw a 3rd land type. Keep the Wild Nacatl.
Oh, keep the fetch land on defense.
By leaving the land up.
It's true. But it looks like Bram wants to get 2 Step Lynxes onto the table. So go ahead and cracks his fetch land now. This would have been a much better turn if it hadn't been for that Lightning Bolt from Coimbra, that's for sure. So Coimbra's deck is too slow? It doesn't look too slow.
It doesn't look too slow here. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of Wild Nacatls.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things about this deck is it has a lot of 1-drops. It's able to play them on turn 1. It has lands that don't come into play tapped. There's no Jungle Shrine in the deck, which has been a source of some derision from other players.
Yeah, that's a really bold statement. It's a Naya build with no Jungle Shrines.
It's really relying on fetch lands and the new duels from M10.
Okay.
To get turn 3, we've got a 3/3.
Yeah,
Wild
there you go.
Woolly Thoctor is enabled if there's a Thoctor in his hand.
You have 2 cards?
Alright, so what's in his hand? Looks like a Johnny, some lands, and a couple of Woolly Thoctars.
No.
And no attack.
No attack. He wants to play defense, apparently.
He's got a 3/3 and a 5/4, and they can block
Wow.
2-3 step links just fine.
Oh, lightning bolt. All right. Andre preferred to leave. Oh, third step links from Brahm, no fourth land. So 0-1 step links is hanging out. Seems like Coimbra can go on the attack now. Yep, Faktar heads into the red zone.
12.
None of the 0-1s feel like stepping in front, so here comes Faktar number 2 with a fetch land back, threatening either path or lightning bolt in theory. Brahm does finally draw a fourth land, and it's a fetch land, so it's 12 power worth of step links is all of a sudden. Trigger, trigger, trigger. Now they're all 2-3s. Seems like you smash here, right? Yeah, bring them all in.
So they are 2-3s. Yes.
It's 12-19 right now.
Well,
Coimbra does block, I think I heard him say.
Yep.
So he's going to trade that Faktar for one of the step links. He's going to take 8 down to 11.
damage. Sure, I'm at 7.
Oh, he said
No, he took it. So he takes 12 down to 7. And now, yeah, here comes Ranger of Eos.
Sure.
There's no second red mana, though. So no, shows him Path and a Johnny. That's game. He can Path the Ranger and Johnny for 3. That's 13 damage. Why is Bram,
I'll path it, attack with both, and 3 damage you, so you take 13.
Yeah, okay. Andre
Sounds like, oh, I
explains.
understand now.
Okay. Andre Coimbra wins game 1. Quick and brutal. Yeah.
With the slow deck.
Yeah, the allegedly slow deck wins a fairly quick game number 1. So what happens to these decks after sideboarding? Oh, look at Andre. He's consulting a list. Consulting his notes. He talked to his friends, I'm sure. How do I sideboard exactly?
I mean, Andre has a lot of options here. He has Celestial Purges, which we saw could have been very nice against.
Yeah, 4 Celestial Purges in Coimbra sideboard. I can't figure out how good that card actually is against
It doesn't seem that
Boris
great,
Bushwhacker.
honestly.
It kills Geopete. It feels to me like the kind of card I'm happy to have a couple in my deck. I don't think I want all 4 because after the Geopete, the next best target's like a Bushwhacker, right?
Certainly going to bring in the 2 Burst Lightnings and probably the 4th of Johnny Vengeance as a kind of almost like a 4 mana lightning bolt.
I mean, even Great Sable Stag is not bad here, right?
Right, 3/3.
3 mana, 3/3.
Pretty critical number to block a non-double
Right.
fetch landed.
But does he have bad cards to take out?
The one Scoop Mob is
Well,
not
but I mean, that's
terribly
there for the
insane.
Ranger. I think you keep that because it's like 1 turns all your Rangers turn into Scoop Mobs if you've got all the lands.
I know that Andre has been siding out his Rangers and 1-drops. He said, Michael,
Oh, really?
he's very mad at me about my sideboard plan.
His main deck doesn't have bad cards. I mean, what are the bad cards in his main deck? Paths are fine. A Johnny's fine. Lightning Bolt's fine. Yeah, we're talking about Coimbra. This guy's been around for a couple of years. He's got a fairly impressive resume. Right, 100 pro points. He will be on the Hall of Fame ballot when it comes his turn. It's his second top 8. He's got 5 Grand Prix top 8s. Just been a solid, steady sort of Pro Tour regular from Portugal.
Yeah, he hasn't really played this year. Interestingly, he played in Berlin with a deck Mike designed. Got him enough points. He ended up having 15 points this year.
Oh, so that's enough for one
And
invite?
it was enough for one invite. And he said, I'm going to hang out. I'm going to take it easy. Rome rolls around. I'm going to go to Worlds, see
Sure.
what happens.
Does he have any pro points this year, I wonder?
He does not.
He came in with 0.
Came in with 0.
So he's got
points.
16.
He might have a GP.
Well, but it's relevant. Like, the difference between 16 and 20 is huge. Like, semifinal appearance is worth 16 pro points, which means he's only got 1 invite, but 20 is the magic number that you really want.
Let's take a look at his opponent, Bram Stepfangers. I mean, some gaudy numbers.
284 pro points. There are only about a dozen players in the history of the game that are over the 300 mark. Maybe it's 15. I'm pretty sure it's less than 20. And Bram's there now. He's now gotten at least 16 points from this event. So 300 pro points. He's played every Pro Tour this decade with one exception. There was a Japanese tour where he couldn't make it. But he's been qualified consistently since the late 90s. He's been playing, 4 top 8s, just one of the regulars. Just a really solid player and part of a Dutch community that continues to just spit out a steady stream of really good Magic players.
I mean, and you talk to the Dutch players, they talk about Bram being a really kind of like taskmaster judge and community organizer early on in their career, someone who really demanded a high level of play from the players who played in his tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in terms of quality of play, but sort of like ethics of play and how you treated your opponents and how you approached the game.
Sure.
And has obviously just had a huge influence on that entire community in terms of you see people who are just always polite to their opponents,
Mm-hmm.
always approach the game, very excellent technical play, very sportsmanlike. He gets a lot of credit. And so in terms of players who have more lifetime pro points than him, more than 300 points, you have Camille Cornelissen.
Yeah, you've heard of these names.
Hall of Famer. Jelger Wiegersma, Hall of Famer. Shuhei Nakamura, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Once he's on the list,
becomes eligible. Darwin Castle, Hall of Famer. Antoine Ruel, Hall of Famer. Gabriel Nassif, certainly the lead vote getter next season
he's a lock.
in the Hall of Fame. Raphael Levy, Hall of Famer. John Finkel, Hall of Famer. Olivier Ruel, Hall of Famer, and Kai Bude, Hall of Famer. First ballot Hall of Famers.
Right.
Leading vote getter Hall of Famers.
So here was the stat. I actually found this stat when I was looking things up for this year. There has never been a person up here on the ballot with 300 pro points and failed to get voted in.
Wow.
Like no one has ever declined. Everyone who's ever been on the ballot with 300 lifetime pro points next to their name has gotten in.
And it's certainly hard to norm. I think people can sort of say.
And you just added, there's 10. He's literally the 11th person. He's the 11th person to get 300 career pro points.
Yeah. Frank Karsten may have also.
I don't think Karsten's at 292, so he didn't get 8 this weekend.
He did not get
Where's that's the list you're looking at is updated October 22nd. Is that before or after Austin? Because Ikeda's the other guy, right? Tsuyoshi Ikeda, who was runner-up in Austin, is sitting on 289 lifetime pro points at this stage. Also a guy who ought to get some consideration. I mean, talk about your community builders.
Yeah, store owner.
Right, he keeps putting up top 8s, another second place. He's the one who should get a look, in my opinion. I'm definitely going to take a long look at him on the next ballot.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a little sour seeing Bram doing so well here. Certainly, you have a sort of an old-timers committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Veterans committee kind of vote going here. It's like who's the old-timer gets it. I don't know that people are going to vote for 2 of them. They could even split the vote, which is kind of unfortunate for both of them.
Meanwhile, on the other table, Terry So has taken a 1-0 lead. Great Sable Stag plus Colossal Might was a lot of damage, and that got the job done against Right Bauer's Dun deck.
Not a card we were expecting to see.
No, I was not expecting to see Colossal
Naya
Might.
comes out swinging, huh?
Apparently. All right, Brahm staring over his grip. These guys getting ready for game 2. Coimbra's up a game. Now Coimbra's staring at his draw.
Never.
And Coimbra cashes it in. So he'll be playing game 2 with 6 cards.
Netherlands lost in the semifinals of the team tournament off camera, but it was an opportunity for the Netherlands to put players through to the title, world title, and the team title. Now that the opportunity for that to happen falls to Austria.
Yes, our team championship match will be Austria versus China.
So if
That
you
is
had that in
super
the fantasy
exciting.
pool,
Yeah, if you had that bet, you made a lot of money, I'm sure, because you probably got long odds. Those are not the teams that we were expecting to see in this team final. Japan was the favorite. Everyone had the Japanese penciled straight through to Sunday. They had a very disappointing weekend, wound up finishing 7th. Watanabe finished 101st, kind of limping to the finish line, but it's such a great run this year that he is, in fact, the player of the year, despite having a fairly disappointing weekend this year.
let's take a look at the teams.
Yeah.
Get to meet these players that you might not be familiar with already.
Yeah, there's the Chinese team. Wu Tong, Bo Li, and Xiang Zhang. They had a great weekend. They swept the team rounds. They won all 4 of their matches to be the number 2 seed coming into today. 31-27-25. So nobody really in contention to win the individual world title, but a solid performance from all 3 players. And those crucial 4 wins in the team competition for 36 points. That was good enough to get them second.
Bo Li never played Legacy before this weekend.
Yeah?
He said, there's maybe 20 people in all of China who play Legacy. It's not, they're
Not their format.
One of the newer countries to get access to the game.
Sure.
So I mean, a lot of those older cards they haven't seen a lot of. And it's not something they play. Very much a standard and extended format, or the popular formats there. Never played Legacy before. Got a Merfolk deck, off of a good Legacy source. Mm-hmm. First match is the first round of the teams. He's 5-0 in Legacy lifetime now. Big part of why they're here today is his performance in Legacy.
Sure. Makes sense. Now let's see who their opponents are going to be. The Austrians, Ben Klauser has been around. He's got 4 career top 8s as an individual. Right. So kind of his 5th Sunday performance now. He's been on the Austrian team, I believe, 4 times. Benjamin Rozon and Bernard Lerner also. And you see another one. None of these guys were really in contention to win the individual title. 36 points. Klauser did make money, but I mean, he was, I think, a match and a half away. Yeah, a match and a draw out. So finished in the money, but he was never really at the very top tables. That said, all 3 of them acquitted themselves well. They got 2-2 in the team, and that was good enough to sneak in. They beat the Brazilians on tiebreakers on 117 points. So one of their losses in those team rounds was against the Czech Republic, but they avenged that loss in the semifinals. So the Austrians beat the Czech Republic, the Chinese beat the Netherlands, and there's your finals matchup.
And we're going to see that immediately after these 2 matches are over.
And the Austrians, by the way, this is their second finals appearance in 3 years. They lost to Switzerland 2 years ago.
The team Manuel B was on.
Yep. Oh, interestingly enough, David Reitbauer, the Austrian who's in this individual top 8, was on that Austrian team. But not Ben Klauser, right? I think Klauser's got 4 times on the team, but didn't make it that year.
So we see two players from that finals in 2007 in the top 8 of this event, Manuel Boucher and David Reitbauer.
I mean, a lot of people are talking about this tournament as this potential sort of changing of the guard. I mean, from sort of an international standpoint, and this like almost global political issues playing themselves out, right? The rise of China. I mean, that's something that, on a lot of different fronts around the world, people are expecting. They know it's coming, and we may be seeing that right before our very eyes here at a Magic tournament. The other thing you see in this top 8, there are no Americans, and there are no Japanese. The first top 8 in the 77-event, 13-year history of the Pro Tour without those 2 dominant countries.
Sure. Also no French players. It's another team that's been
a
powerhouse.
All right. Game 2 is underway, and Bram Snepfangers leads with the Goblin Guide. He attacks. I believe he did hit a land, undid the mulligan that Andre Kornber was forced to take by handing him a land. And I think Kornber then immediately drew another land, so...
Tapped land. Mike will be so sad.
The M10 lands are not supposed to come into play tapped in this deck. That's kind of the design. Play basics. I mean, he could have actually... Yeah. He had Sun Petal Grove as his other. Could have played a plains. Second Goblin Guide for Braum. Oh, Forest.
And Ranger Vios.
Ranger Vios will stay on top. All right, Kornber down to 14. That's a bunch of damage.
I guess this is what Bram was talking about when he was talking about his deck being fast.
Yeah. What's Kornber's draw? He's got a Purge, potentially do something. He's got a couple of Hierarchs. Well, he's now got because he drew the forest, he could go Hierarch, and set up for a Baneslayer next turn. It's probably the way to play it, right? Step links from Snapfangers. I mean, he could purge a Goblin Guide, but that just feels like a losing fight. Seems like you go Forest, Hierarch, setting up for Baneslayer, but we see Brahm's hand. Brahm's hand has Mountain, Plated Geopede, and Journey to Nowhere. So Brahm has the ability to remove that Baneslayer. That said, I mean, what is Coinbra going to do? He can't. Brahm's come out of the gate so blisteringly fast that there's no way Coinbra can afford to try to play around a Journey to Nowhere and bait it with something else. And he's got to just cross his fingers and hope that he can play cards fast enough and stay alive.
As we've talked about, there's no protection for Andre's deck.
Yeah, it does not have Brave the Elements. It's a card that a lot of Naya builds are starting to work in. Some in the main, some in the sideboard. Maybe it's a 1 of. Maybe it's a 3 of, though. Card seems really powerful. I mean, 1 mana, it protects. You can win fights. You can stop removal spells. You can falter. Oh, there's Teetering Peaks. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8 damage. Coinbra's going to fall all the way to 6.
Yeah, people have talked about sort of the dearth of counter magic in Standard. Path to Exile and Vines of the Vastwood, which is another card people were playing in Standard this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Have both proven to be non-blue negates. The format shifted to, very, very creature-heavy formats.
Right. So most of the spells that matter are creature removal spells, targeted creature.
Removal, so.
Yeah, Coimbra takes 8. He's at 6. He's going to play a Baneslayer Angel and cross his fingers and hope he survives long enough to untap. Oh, he chumps?
Okay.
I do not understand that play. So Coimbra's at 10.
There's a Plated Geopede.
But what does this set up for his turn?
Ranger of Eos?
Yeah, but Ranger of Eos, he just dies to the other creatures. I mean, he can purge something, but... I mean, he can purge and play another Hierarch. I mean, it's not like my Baneslayer play was actually going to work, because it turns out there's a Journey to Nowhere over in Brahm's draw. It's interesting. Yeah, Coimbra chose to chump block and set up a turn where he purges. I get partially, maybe he's hoping Brahm's going to